We're tackling a really intense philosophy, one that basically throws the whole idea of luck, destiny, right out the window.
Yeah, we're going deep on David Goggins, this idea that you don't find your destiny, you build it.
Exactly. The listener's source material puts it as building it brick by brick, decision by decision. And we've got a lot to work with here. His memoirs, Can't Hurt Me, never finished.
Biographical details, this whole framework he has for, well, extreme self-mastery, pushing way past what most people think is possible.
Right. So our mission today is to really unpack this discipline of destiny idea he has.
Yeah, and this isn't your typical self-help stuff. No fluff. It's rugged, it's demanding, and it comes straight from, frankly, an astonishing life story.
Okay.
We need to pull out the core insights.
And connect them back to where he came from, because that's the puzzle, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
How does someone who felt, in his words, haunted by failure, someone who genuinely believed they were inherently stupid because of trauma, learning disabilities,
how does that person become the only individual in U.S. history to get through Navy SEAL training, Army Ranger School, and Air Force TCP training?
That's the question we're chasing, that transformation.
It feels like understanding that early pain, that chaos, is almost necessary to get why the discipline is so extreme.
Absolutely. Going from feeling trapped like a victim to becoming the architect, that's the heart of his philosophy.
Okay, so let's start there. The origin. To understand the intensity, you have to look at the pressure cooker he grew up in.
Definitely. Born February 17th, 1975, Buffalo, New York. The sources, they don't mince words. They call his early home life hell on earth.
Wow.
Yeah. Centered in Williamsville. Constant abuse, physical, psychological, mostly from his father.
And a lot of this happened against a really specific backdrop, right? The Skateland roller rink.
Exactly. East Buffalo. His father owned it.
Yeah.
And Goggins was forced to work there, night shifts, starting when he was just 6 years old.
6? That's unbelievable.
It wasn't just child labor. It was this environment of constant fear, stress, being around his abuser constantly. He couldn't escape it for years.
So that environment, the sources say, it was just toxic.
Completely.
Mm-hmm.
And even when his mother managed to escape, taking him and his brother to Brazil, Indiana, the trauma didn't just stop.
No, it lingers.
Right. The constant toxic stress, it had real neurological effects. The sources directly link it to him developing a severe stutter and crippling social anxiety. It shaped how he saw the world, how we interacted.
And then there's the learning disability. The sources connect that straight back to the chaos too, right? Not getting proper schooling because he was working.
Precisely. He missed so much early on. When he finally got into a small Catholic school in Indiana, 3rd grade, they diagnosed him. Profound learning disability.
He actually describes looking at like a simple textbook.
Yeah, Spanish, science, and seeing a foreign language, the words just wouldn't connect. Concepts wouldn't stick. Imagine how terrifying that must feel for a kid.
It becomes part of your identity, doesn't it? That feeling of failure.
It absolutely did for him. He was convinced he was just stupid, destined to fail. He felt haunted just by the fact that this was his life.
And how did he cope?
He became a character, a clown, trying to get attention, trying to get approval from the outside, because inside he felt so broken, so insecure.
Which led to him being, what, 300 pounds?
Yeah, a 300-pound young guy, deeply insecure, just faking confidence to survive the day.
And moving to Brazil, Indiana didn't make things easier externally either. The sources talk about explicit racism.
Oh, yeah. Compounding stress. The KKK was active there. He found racist notes, graffiti, the N-word spray painted on his car when he was 16.
So you've got internal trauma, learning struggles, and external hostility. It just sounds crushing.
It sounds completely unsustainable. And I think that's the point. That intense pressure, it reached a breaking point. It forced the change.
The transformation, where did it start?
It started when he quit his job. He was an exterminator, looked at himself, his life, and just decided he wanted to be a Navy SEAL.
Which is not a small goal, especially from where he was.
Not at all. Yeah. It required a complete life overhaul, a reboot. And the first wall he hit was physical, massively physical.
Wait, right. To even qualify for Booty-S basic underwater demolition SEAL training?
You had to lose a monumental amount of weight. The sources say 106 pounds.
106 pounds? How fast?
Get this, 3 months.
3 months, that's 48 kilos. The level of discipline just for that, just to get to the start line, is insane.
It set the tone, that single act. And then he went on to achieve what we mentioned earlier, that trifecta.
The UDS Class 235, graduated 2001.
Then 2004, U.S. Army Ranger School. And he wasn't just scraping by, he earned the Enlisted Honor Man Award. That's based purely on peer evaluations, 100%.
That's incredible respect from his peers then.
Absolutely. And then Air Force Tactical Air Control Party Training, TACP.
Okay, so BUDS, Ranger School, TACP. Can you break down why doing all three is such a big deal? It's not just ticking boxes.
No, definitely not. It signals extreme versatility across different branches, different demands. BUDS is infamous, Hell Week, the water.
Right.
Ranger School is the Army's elite leadership and small unit tactics crucible. Very different skill set. TACP is highly specialized air control. Different environments, different mental and physical stresses, different technical skills needed for each.
So to master all three.
To be the only person ever to complete all three speaks to an unparalleled ability to adapt, endure immense stress, and just excel no matter the challenge. He served as the Chief Petty Officer, did time with SEAL Team 5, SDV Team 1, served in Iraq.
But the discipline didn't stop when he left the military. The sources point to a shift, especially after a specific event, Operation Red Wings.
Yeah, that was a huge turning point. A real tragedy. In 2005, several of his military friends died in that helicopter crash in Afghanistan.
And that spurred him into ultra-endurance sports.
Exactly. He felt this profound need to honor their sacrifice. And the way he chose to do it was by pushing his own body to the absolute limit to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation.
And his accomplishments there are just mind-bending, almost hard to believe.
They really are. The Badwater Ultramarathon, that's 135 miles through Death Valley, in July.
In the heat, yeah.
He did it 3 times, finished 5th once, 3rd in 2007. Then there's the Ultraman World Championships triathlon, came in 2nd in 2006, won the Infinitus 88K race in 2016.
And more recently, that Moab 240.
Yeah, 2020, 241 miles. He finished that in 63 hours and 21 minutes. 2nd place, just relentless.
63 hours, wow. And didn't he hold a pull-up record too?
He did. A former Guinness World Record, 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. Think about the sustained agony, the focus required for that.
It's unbelievable. And this was all for the foundation.
Raised over $2 million for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation through these insane challenges. So that whole arc.
From that traumatized kid, 300 pounds, feeling worthless, learning disabled.
To this. A world-class endurance athlete. Unique military achiever. It's the ultimate proof for his core message.
Which loops right back. Rebirth is possible. And the tool isn't luck or talent.
It's discipline, which he claims is the only thing capable of altering your DNA. His life is the argument. The results are right there.
Okay, let's really get into this central idea then, the discipline of destiny. Because it feels like a direct assault on a lot of modern self-help thinking. He's tearing down that idea that success is about luck, or finding your passion, or waiting for the right moment.
That's exactly it. It's his fundamental argument. Destiny isn't predetermined. It's not a lottery ticket you might win.
It's built.
It's built.
Yeah.
Brick by brick, decision by decision through discipline. That's the quote. For him, discipline is the only reliable thing. Therefore, it trumps everything.
He calls it the skeleton key. I like that analogy.
It's powerful, right? The one tool that gets you into any room, unlocks any goal. Even, as he puts it, the ones built specifically to keep you the feck out.
And given where he started the abuse, the learning issues, the racism discipline becomes the ultimate equalizer. It's for people who didn't start ahead.
It makes genuine rebirth possible. When he talks about altering your DNA, he means changing your core identity. Your beliefs about who you are, what you're capable of, your starting point, your genetics, your disadvantages, they become irrelevant if you have relentless discipline.
Which brings us straight to his view on motivation. He does not like motivation.
No, he really doesn't. The sources are clear. Motivation is a con artist, a scam, a guest that never stays.
Why so harsh?
Because it's fleeting. It's often just that quick hit of dopamine you get from an inspiring quote or watching a motivational video, maybe buying a new planner. It feels good for a moment.
But it doesn't last.
Exactly. It's fundamentally flawed because it needs perfect conditions. Motivation shows up when you already feel good, when the weather's nice, when things are going your way.
And the second things get tough.
It vanishes. It disappears the moment life gets ugly or uncomfortable. He uses the example of the gym membership everyone's motivated January 1st. Come February, it's cold, you're tired, you had a bad day. Motivation is gone. Relying on it guarantees failure.
So what's the alternative? Discipline. He calls it fire.
Right. Discipline is fire. It's the house you build with your own hands. It's the conscious, logical decision to act, regardless of how you feel. Regardless of the weather, your mood, the circumstances.
The runner who goes out in the dark and cold anyway.
That's the disciplined person. They run not because they feel like it, but because they decided yesterday or last week that they would run today. It's action based on commitment, not emotion.
Operating on logic, not feelings.
Exactly. And that commitment builds mental endurance. Because when pure effort becomes your main priority, you fundamentally change your expectations.
How so?
You stop needing everything to be enjoyable. You stop looking for enjoyment in the process. Success isn't measured by did I like doing that? It's measured by did I do it? Consistency, output.
That's a huge mental shift. Our culture often tells us if it's uncomfortable, something's wrong. Quit. Find something easier.
Goggins completely rejects that.
Yeah.
He argues disciplined people just don't have the bandwidth for the low-level energy drains of modern life. They're too focused on the grind.
So no time for scrolling social media feeling envious.
No time for envy, no time for complaining about circumstances, no time for distractions. The internal work, the consistent effort demands all their focus.
And the power comes from just doing it over and over.
Repetition. It's the boring, unglamorous choice to show up day after day when no one is watching. That's key. It's not for show.
And those small, boring choices, they add up.
They compound, like interest. Each small act of discipline builds on the last, creating this momentum that eventually makes the person unstoppable.
Okay, but I have to push back a bit here. Does this just sound endlessly miserable? If you stop looking for enjoyment, isn't the end result just being highly productive but joyless? Don't we need some reward?
It's a really important question. But Goggins' framework seems to redefine the reward. It's not about immediate pleasure. The reward is freedom.
Freedom. How?
Freedom from your own weaknesses. Freedom from being controlled by impulse or circumstance. The self-respect that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself, that you did the hard thing because it was hard. That difficult run in the cold, it pays off the feeling of self-disgust you might have otherwise felt for quitting.
So the reward is internal. Control. Self-governance.
Exactly. It's a deep, durable satisfaction that fleeting motivation can never, ever provide. The lack of comfort becomes proof you're building something real.
And once you accept that discomfort is part of the process, you can start applying his specific laws. All right, let's get practical. The 4 laws, starting with the one that sounds the most intense. Taking souls. What does that actually mean? It sounds aggressive.
It does sound aggressive, and he acknowledges that, but he's clear it's something he learned in SEAL training, and it has nothing to do with arrogance or cruelty. It's not about hurting others.
So what is it about?
It's about psychological dominance, but not in a malicious way. It's about showing what's humanly possible when you simply refuse to acknowledge weakness or quit.
Okay, paint the picture. When does this happen?
Think of a brutal situation, the final miles of an ultramarathon, a crushing deadline at work. Hell week in BUDS. Everyone around you is visibly breaking down, physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted. They're complaining, making excuses, maybe begging for it to stop.
And the soul taker.
That one person refuses to break. Not only do they not break, they actually seem to find more energy. They grind harder. They maintain their focus, their intensity. They show up looking strong when everyone else is falling apart.
And that action is what takes their soul.
Yes, because their relentless performance shatters everyone else's excuses. It forces the others to confront the reality. If that person can still push this hard, then my feeling of being at my limit must be psychological, not physical. It exposes their perceived limits as just perceptions.
Goggins uses this in SEAL training.
He talks about flipping the script during Hell Week. The instructors were trying to break him, using suffering as a weapon. He decided to enjoy the suffering, to embrace it, turn the pain into fuel, into proof he wouldn't quit. While others were cracking, he was getting stronger mentally.
It sets a new standard, forces others to question themselves.
Exactly. It makes their own weakness undeniable to them.
But doesn't that rely on comparing yourself to others? If discipline is internal, why focus on the psychological effect on competitors? Does that fit?
That's a fair point. The sources frame it more as an internal test with an external effect. You're not trying to break others. You're testing your own absolute limits. The fact that your commitment reveals others' limits is just a consequence.
So it's about demonstrating objective possibility.
Yeah, you're pushing the boundary of what's possible, and the competitive world just has to react to that new reality. It's the ultimate expression of self-reliance in a high-stakes game.
Okay, that makes sense. It leads nicely into law 2. Effort destroys the myth of talent.
Yes, a direct challenge to how society often idolizes natural ability.
The idea that some people are just born with it.
Right, the chosen ones. And people use that as an excuse for their own lack of effort, for mediocrity. Oh, I could never do that. I wasn't born like them. Goggins calls that out.
He says talent without discipline is
Useless. Absolutely useless. His core assertion here is that effort beats ability every single time. Effort is the great equalizer.
He argues the world is full of wasted talent, right? People who had the gift, but not the grit.
Exactly. Think about it. How many naturally gifted athletes or artists just fizzled out? He uses Michael Jordan as the prime example.
MJ wasn't just talented.
Sure, he had talent, but what made him great wasn't just genetics. It was his insane work ethic. He was addicted to the grind, practicing longer, harder than anyone, pushing himself in empty gyms to obliterate weakness.
So the talent was the starting block, but the discipline built the legacy.
Precisely. The relentless drive to outwork everyone that was the real competitive advantage, far more than just innate skill. Effort is what separates the good from the truly great.
Okay, law 3. This reframes setbacks completely. Obstacles as sharpening stones.
Yeah, this is crucial. Obstacles aren't roadblocks. They aren't detours from your path. They are the path.
Like friction sharpening steel.
Exactly. Every single challenge, getting fired, a relationship ending, a rejection, failing a test, washing out of a program, it's not a curse. It's an opportunity.
An opportunity to what?
To toughen your character, test your resilience, and refine your skills. You don't get stronger by things being easy. You get stronger by overcoming difficulties.
So failure isn't final, it's
data. It's training. It's sandpaper against steel. He points to Thomas Edison, how many thousands of failed attempts before the light bulb. Each failure was just information. When you adopt that mindset,
every wound becomes armor.
that's the idea. You learn, you adapt, you get tougher.
Mm.
And this ties directly into maybe the most famous concept from Can't Hurt Me,
The 40% rule?
the 40% rule.
Yeah.
The belief that when most people feel like they've hit their absolute limit, like they have nothing left to give, they're totally exhausted.
They think they're at 100%.
But they're actually only tapping into about 40% of their true capability.
40%? How does that work? Why do we stop there?
It's basically our brain's built-in safety mechanism, survival programming. The brain isn't optimized for peak performance. It's optimized to keep you alive.
So that 40% mark is like a governor.
Exactly. A psychological governor. When you start feeling serious discomfort, pain, fatigue, your limbic system, the primal emotional part of the brain starts screaming danger signals. Stop. Conserve energy. You're going to hurt yourself.
Even if the danger is just temporary exhaustion or discomfort.
Right. The brain wants to protect resources.
Mm-hmm.
So that feeling of wanting to quit, that overwhelming urge to stop when things get really hard, that's your brain hitting the brakes way too early, trying to keep you safe in your comfort zone.
But the 40% rule says there's another 60% available.
A huge reserve of potential locked behind that mental barrier. And discipline is the key to unlocking it. It's the tool you use to consciously override that primal safety response.
Oh.
By recognizing the feeling for what it is, just a warning signal, not a hard stop. And then deliberately pushing past it. Each time you do that, you prove to your brain you can handle more, effectively expanding your capacity.
Yeah.
You push that 40% ceiling higher.
Which brings us to law 4, the importance of never finishing. This sounds related.
Very related. It comes from that SEAL mindset, echoed by guys like Jocko Willink, too. It's not about literally working yourself to death without rest.
Okay, good. So what is it?
It's about building psychological resilience by intentionally over-challenging yourself sometimes. You create a mindset that the work is never truly done.
How does that work in practice, like in training?
You finish the main exercise, achieve the objective, and then you deliberately add more. Maybe a surprise drill when everyone thinks they're finished for the day. You make it harder than it needs to be on purpose.
Why? If the job's done, why add more pain?
Because life doesn't stick to the training plan. Real challenges, real crises, they hit you unexpectedly, often when you're already tired or stressed. This practice builds a mental buffer.
Ah, okay. It develops the fortitude, the mentality that you always have more in the tank.
Exactly. By choosing to push harder when you don't have to, you prove to yourself that you can endure more than you think. It strengthens that self-discipline muscle and builds a deep reserve of mental toughness.
So when a real crisis hits and you feel like you're at 100%,
You know deep down that you've gone further before. You know you have reserves beyond that 40% governor. You're prepared.
so applying these laws, it's not a one-time fix. It sounds like a constant internal battle, a daily war against sliding back.
That's exactly how Goggins frames it. He's incredibly honest about this. He says he never turns the discipline off. Why? because if he did, he believes he'd instantly revert back.
Back to the old David Goggins.
Yeah. The 300-pound insecure person trapped by excuses, defined by trauma and low self-worth. Discipline isn't a goal you achieve and then you're done. It's a continuous fight to maintain the new identity, to keep the old, weaker self from taking back control.
It's perpetual vigilance.
It is. And the fascinating part is how the sources connect this constant effort to actual brain science. Neuroplasticity.
Right, the idea that our brains can change.
Exactly. It's the brain's ability to physically reorganize itself, forming new neural connections based on experience and behavior. This is key to understanding why discipline works long-term, why it's not just about willpower.
So how does discipline change the brain?
Every time you make that hard discipline choice, you go to the gym when you want to stay home, you choose the healthy food over the junk, you push through that 40% barrier, you are actively strengthening specific neural pathways.
Which pathways? What part of the brain gets stronger?
You're essentially strengthening the connections to and within your prefrontal cortex, the PFC, that's your brain's CEO. It handles planning, reasoning, impulse control, long-term thinking.
And what's it fighting against?
It's fighting against the limbic system, the more primitive emotional part of the brain that screams for comfort, immediate gratification, and safety. Consistent discipline is like weightlifting for your PFC. You're repeatedly forcing it to take charge to override those primal urges.
And over time, those pathways in the PFC get stronger.
Yeah.
More dominant.
They become more robust, more efficient. The neural circuits for the disciplined behavior literally become thicker, better connected. So the discipline choice actually starts to become easier.
It becomes the path of least resistance, eventually.
That's the goal. You move from being ruled by impulse to being guided by intention. You actually rewire your brain so that the healthy discipline choice becomes the default, requiring less conscious effort, less willpower over time. This explains why long-term disciplined people often say their habits feel almost automatic.
Okay, but let's circle back to that idea of perpetual vigilance. If you always have to fight the old self, if the price is constant war, does that lead to any kind of peace? Or is it just exhausting? Is this sustainable for finding happiness?
That tension is right at the heart of it. The sources really imply that, for Goggins, given his starting point, traditional peace or relaxation might be a luxury he feels he can't afford.
Because his default is the trauma.
Potentially, yes. The old self is always lurking. So for him, the constant battle is the price of freedom, the price of self-respect and self-control. The goal isn't necessarily relaxation in the conventional sense. It's relentless self-mastery.
So the payoff isn't peace, it's control, knowing you're in charge of your actions.
Exactly. That deep internal satisfaction of self-governance, knowing your impulses don't rule you, that's the ultimate reward in his framework. It's a different kind of fulfillment.
And achieving that requires brutal honesty, which brings us to his accountability mirror.
Yes. Unflinching honesty with yourself. Recognizing that your life, your identity, it's built from tiny decisions. Those small choices matter immensely.
Like skipping the gym just once.
Yeah.
It's not just one workout.
It's often the start of a pattern. The first crack that leads back to negative habits, back towards the undisciplined self. The accountability mirror is forcing yourself to look at those choices, own them, without excuses.
And he used his own pain feeling stupid, the abuse, the fear, not as an excuse to fail, but as fuel.
That's the emotional mastery piece. He didn't let the pain paralyze him or define him in a negative way. He weaponized it. He channeled all that negative energy, that fear of failure, that memory of suffering, directly into the drive needed to become a SEAL, to push through pain barriers.
So you use logic when you can.
You use logic and intention as your primary drivers. But on the days when logic falters, when you're tired or discouraged,
You tap into the fear of going back.
use the raw, primal fear of reverting to who you used to be, or the deep-seated anger at past injustices as an alternative fuel source. You find some emotion to keep you moving forward. You don't let feelings stop you. You leverage them.
And the final piece seems to be just acting, overcoming that moment of hesitation.
That critical pause. The brain's protective instinct kicks in almost instantly when you contemplate doing something hard or uncomfortable. Are you sure? Maybe later. It's cold out.
That's the moment discipline wins or loses.
Precisely. Concepts like the 5-second rule tap into that. There's a very short window, maybe just a few seconds, between having the impulse or intention to act and your brain generating all the reasons not to. Discipline means acting within that window, physically moving before the doubt solidifies.
You use the momentum of the decision itself.
Yes, you just go. Relentless consistency means winning that tiny battle against hesitation over and over and over again every single day. Hashtag outro.
Wow. Okay. So wrapping this up, what really strikes me is how Goggins completely flips our usual ideas about effort, success, even freedom. Discipline isn't a chore. It's presented as the ultimate long-term advantage.
It really is. It transforms pain into power. It literally helps rewire your identity at a neurological level. And it offers a path to freedom that's totally independent of waiting for motivation to strike.
It bypasses that whole unreliable dopamine chase.
Completely. So the core takeaway, the synthesis here, is that discipline is the great equalizer. It's the blueprint for building your own destiny. You don't need special permission. You don't need innate talent. You definitely don't need luck.
What do you need?
According to Goggins, just relentless consistency. His life serves as proof, or at least a powerful argument, that you, the listener, can start building the self you want to be. Right now. Brick by brick. Decision by decision.
And if you actually commit to this, if you embrace this discipline, what's the ultimate implication in a world that mostly values comfort?
I think the provocative idea embedded in Goggins' work is this. The moment you grasp how powerful discipline makes you, how much control it gives you over your own effort, your own state of mind, your own outcomes, you become, in a sense, uncontrollable.
Uncontrollable? How so?
You stop being dependent on external validation. You stop needing comfort. You stop being easily swayed by trends or societal pressures. You're no longer just a cog in their machine, driven by predictable desires for ease and approval. You operate on your own internal code.
That's a powerful thought. So the final challenge isn't just, can I start?
No. The deeper challenge Goggins poses is, if true freedom requires rejecting the constant search for comfort and embracing this internal war, what parts of your current comfortable life are actually holding you back?
Yeah.
What might you need to intentionally burn down to build a version of yourself that can withstand anything? That ongoing fight against comfort, that's maybe the only guarantee the old year never gets back in the driver's seat.